Hello, I'm Thom Duval. I'm the pastor of Word of Hope Lutheran Church in Lexington, Kentucky, and this is the sermon redo for Sunday, June 2nd, the second Sunday after Pentecost. The gospel reading is from the 7th chapter of Luke's gospel, beginning first verse. After Jesus had finished all his sayings in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. A centurion there had a slave whom he valued highly, and who was ill and close to death. When he heard about Jesus, he sent some Jewish elders to him, asking him to come and heal the slave. When they came to Jesus, they appealed to him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy of having you do this for him, for he loves our people, and it is he who built our synagogue for us." And Jesus went with them, but when he was not far from the house, the centurion sent his friends to say to him, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore I did not presume to come to you. But only speak the word and let my servant be healed. For I am also a man set under authority, with soldiers under me, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and the slave does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him, and turning to the crowd that followed him, he said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." When those who had been sent returned to the house, they found the slave in good health. One of the things that I believe often comes to mind is how remarkable, as people listen to this gospel, one of the things that comes to mind is how remarkable it is that the centurion cares this much about a slave. I think that comes from a misunderstanding or lack of understanding entirely about the Roman military. Centurion, in all likelihood, is a battle-hardened soldier, probably been in the military for something in the neighborhood of 10 years. Not accustomed necessarily to peace, but has been in plenty of battles, plenty of least skirmishes. And in that context, the centurion, who in some ways is kind of like a master sergeant in our army, in that context, and particularly in a military context of any day and age, people get very close to one another. I've never been in the military myself, but I understand that people really do treasure the relationships that are forged in battle. And although this slave's legal status probably was slave, I think it's highly likely that there was a much more personal connection, long-running, and probably they've been through the mill together. And so when the centurion, when the text says that the centurion has this concern for the slave, I think we sell it short if we think that this is just a remarkable individual. This is a very understandable reaction that the centurion has to someone who is very close to him. What is surprising about this text is the kind of regard that the centurion has, and the understanding that the centurion has for the people in whose presence he lives. He obviously is stationed in Capernaum. Capernaum is on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee. It's kind of in the hinterland. I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that the centurion probably was with the 10th Legion. 10th Legion, I believe at this time, was stationed in Syria, probably on detached service, probably with a cohort. It's my understanding that cohorts could weigh in at anywhere from 75 to 150 people. I'm going to guess that this was a light cohort, maybe 25 people, probably stationed in Capernaum just to be a Roman presence, help with tax collection, just to make sure that the locals understand who's in charge here. And in that context, in any military, in any age, I think that there is this sense that we are in charge. We are the powerful. We are the reigning military power in the world. And you local yokels better just adapt. That obviously is not the attitude of this particular centurion. In some ways, he has gone native. He obviously has built relationships with these people. He's even gone so far as to support the building of the synagogue, the house of prayer there. And he has this particular sensitivity to the position that Jesus is in. Jesus isn't part of the religious establishment, the civil authorities. He's certainly not military. But the centurion is very careful to send friends. Now, we know that Jesus based his ministry in Capernaum. It wasn't like it was a megatropolis or anything. At some time, it's possible that Jesus had met or would in the future meet this centurion. But on this occasion, the centurion is very careful to keep a distance so that he doesn't offend Jesus by coming to him. And he doesn't put Jesus in an awkward position by having Jesus come to his home, his barracks, the barracks of a military power that is pretty genuinely hated throughout Israel. It might be, because of all this focus on authority, it might be possible to think of this as kind of a bloodless sort of exchange, kind of lifeless, kind of just rigid. But there is all kind of emotion running here, and there is this remarkable intersection of authorities. This centurion is well versed in the authority that comes from above, the authority that comes from higher ups. He is there because he's been told to go there. Jesus, already at this point in Luke's gospel, is operating from a very different kind of authority. It's an authority that comes from below. It's the authority that comes from being a servant. The authority that comes from, can I help you with that? What can I do for you? And as you watch this thing happen, you can't help but have a sense of irony that this centurion who comes with a request to Jesus is part, and could command, I suppose, but this centurion is part of a military machine that will end up causing Jesus' death by crucifixion. And yet it's a centurion who comes at this point with a request for healing and for wholeness. I think it's remarkable. I think it's remarkable the way in which the two don't meet. And the centurion works through, I suppose you could say, friends. He works through the elders of the people. I can't help but see a worship kind of connection in this. And the guy isn't overtly worshiping Jesus. But I think that there's something here to be said for worship in our context. We come to God, and are we worthy? Well, that thought rattles through our mind, and if we have doubts, well then trust your friends. I mean, don't we come to worship with friends? Don't we hope that those friends will support us? Don't we hope that those friends will help us move us forward in our life with God? There is that whole sense of the value of our friends as we approach God. But there is also this response of Jesus where he says, I haven't seen faith like this in all of Israel. Faith, in my mind, is related to that word believe, which at its roots is that which we live by. It's not a bloodless, it's not an academic, it's not a hypothetical thing where, basically I believe the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Believe is that hardcore stuff by which you live. This centurion believes, it's something he's willing to stake his life on, that this Jesus can make a difference, that there's healing in this Jesus. Just so happened this last week, as often happens, there are these coincidences, God incidences that happen. I was driving around in my truck and flicked on a radio station. It wasn't classical music, but it wasn't coming in very well. And by the way, lest you get the impression that I'm deeply knowledgeable about classical music, I'm not. I don't know anything about it, but I find that it often soothes the troubled spirit, or ends up being a blank slate upon which I can think about whatever's on my mind. But in this case, the classical station wasn't coming in very well, so I picked up a CD. I keep a few in my visor, and I just grabbed one and put it in the CD player. Ended up that it was an older REM album, and it was the fourth cut that really grabbed my attention. It's the title of the piece is "Everybody Hurts." Song opens up, "When your day is long and the night is yours alone. When you're sure you've had enough of this life, well, hang on. Don't let yourself go. Everybody cries and everybody hurts. Sometimes." And then there's this interesting thing that they do in the song, that there's lyrics that move the song forward, but in the background there's this refrain being sung, "Hold on, hold on. Sometimes everything is wrong. Now it's time to sing along. When your day is night alone, hold on, hold on. If you feel like letting go, hold on. When you think you've had too much of this life, hold on." I suppose if you're a Jesus person, you say, isn't it wonderful that we have so much more to fall back on than just the advice to hold on? Well, and you know, I believe that. But sometimes even in our life with God, we, of all people, need to have that encouragement to hold on. I think about that centurion who cares deeply about his slave, his servant, his personal aide, and he's holding on. And I think about the way in which he relies on the Jewish elders, his friends, to help him hold on. I think of Jesus himself later on in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's there with his friends, and he's praying, my God, you know, if it's possible, let this cup pass over me," because he knows he's facing his death. Hold on. And during the trial, and then the beating, and then the crucifixion itself, when he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Hold on. And I think of times in my own personal life when things have not gone well, when it seems like nobody's answering the prayer phone. I think of the value of hold on, and having friends who help me hold on. Peace be with you in your own faith life. As you struggle sometimes to hold on, may you look for those friends that will bring your requests to Jesus, that will bring you to Jesus. Hold on and know that this Jesus is there for you. He has died, he has been raised, and it's the Spirit of the risen Christ that is there for each of us, encouraging us and giving us the strength to hold on.